So, turns out I made a slight error in terms of how many days were in this month. Due to that, I wasn't able to rewatch other series and choose an episode to cover for this week. As a consolation, I decided to instead list 10 episodes that also fit into the formula for this month, yet I chose not to cover for reasons I'll elaborate on later. All things considered, I'd say this is a fun way to wrap up this series.
What's the word I'm looking for? No? Yeah, no.
Well, it's the best I can do right now, so let's get started.
Come on, Kevin, he's my cousin. He was supposed to be home from college 2 days ago.
And you want me to waste my time driving my car looking for your cousin?
I know how it sounds. The police said to wait. I'm sure he's fine. We just don't know where he is.
Really, Ken's relevance to the rest of the franchise would be enough to justify this episode's placement. Even judging it by the other standards I set for my series, this episode still doesn't do well. Gwen's brother isn't actually the focus of the episode, with him instead playing the part of bait for Max, and indirectly the Tennysons and Kevin. After they fall for the trap and arrive unexpectedly, the episode focuses primarily on the overarching story of the season. This results in us not getting to actually see the relationship between Ken, his sister, and cousin, with us needing to rely on dialogue alone to make us care. It gets on this list by the sheer technicality of it having a significant focus on a character familiar to the leads, but not the audience.
Well, to be honest, my brothers and I are totally different. They're strong and athletic and popular, and I've always been
the ultimate nerd master.
No. Yeah.
I know anyone who remembers this episode may think it would be more appropriate to cover if I ever do a month for liar revealed stories. Well, for starters, this was the episode of Monsono that you bothered to remember.
Are you kidding me?
Second, thanks to how this episode actually plays out, more time is spent on establishing the new character's relationship with our leads and how it changes as opposed to the specific mendacity for the episode. Yet, it not focusing on the motive behind said new characters is what lands the episode on this list, whereas other faults put it at the number 9 spot.
We use the legend of the monster under the mountain to scare away the miners, so that we don't attract attention.
How come you're not dead yet?
That was your only warning shot. Now turn around, slowly.
That voice. Max?
Xylene? Is that you?
Did I miss something?
Like the previous two entries, there really isn't anything overtly poorly done in this episode. We learn some more about the literal universe and why certain events happened in the show, and while at least one character can be seen as unreasonable, it's not in a way that's inconsistent with his character or becomes tedious to watch. What's really holding this episode back is that the two major conflicts for the episode, the assimilating drone and what Xylene's reappearance means for the family road trip, have very obvious resolutions at this point in the series. On one hand, this shouldn't be too much of an issue since, by virtue of what this month has been about, predictability should be expected with the quality being found in how it handles the partially known story beats. The other hand reveals that outside of exposition regarding how the series premise came to occur, and how she met Max, we don't learn much about Xylene or get much of a different perspective on Max. The episode's functional, but not really phenomenal. In a way,
Kevin Levin, you are mine.
You are a husband? I had not heard.
No, we're just engaged. I meant to tell ya.
Go on.
Kinda busy right now.
in a way, this episode has similar faults as The Visitor, but they don't weigh as heavily on this episode simply by being a comedic conflict, where the entertainment comes more from the absurdity of the situation the characters find themselves in. It also does change up what you may have come to expect from this type of formula, by having Kevin be the one who is being deceptive in his actions, whereas Luma is entirely honest with everything she does. If you've seen my previous breakdown of this episode, you know she does appear 3 times after this, but none of it goes beyond simple comedy spots, so 7th place it is.
What's going on? And who are these people?
Have you ever wondered why they call me Six?
'Cause that's how many seconds you have to answer my question?
It's because I'm the 6th most dangerous man on the planet. Meet 2 through 5.
Now we're getting to have a bit more substance in both the setup and the payoff, as we learn more about a character who makes it a secondary mission to keep their personal thoughts and feelings a secret. What's interesting about this episode is that it doesn't act as a direct expansion of any of the previous material, but never introduces anything that directly flies in the face of what came before, giving something truly new for the series that only serves to complement other praised elements. What really holds it back is both numbers dose to 5 not having much in the way of memorable personalities by themselves, and 6's surreptitious nature making it hard to truly know if his old colleagues showing up was a surprise for him initially, or something he planned for months beforehand. Now time to get into the top 5, in true contenders.
Soul Kalu, the
great hunter.
Wait, the Sul Kaloo? Like the hand of Sul Kaloo? The thing at the end of my claw?
The return of
What's the word I'm looking for? No? Yeah, no.
this episode hits all of the positive of the episodes I actually covered. Strong sense of uncertainty, meaningful emotional connection, and a noticeable effect on the series moving forward. What defines its placement is a mixture of the episodes above it managing to accomplish everything this episode does, but with more significance in its execution, and the fact that while the character with the meaningful past connection to the hunter is Solomon, Zack is the one who has the emotional resolution at the end. Not quite achieving the build-up it needs to make said ending reach its full potential. Still enjoyable.
Don't touch that!
Ingenious, your father.
Give it back!
We've already played this game, whelp.
Vendetta manages to fully deliver on its payoff thanks to Kevin remaining as the lead for the episode from beginning to end. The Tennysons don't really have much in the way of contributing aside from asking basic questions and serving as backup, but I can't really count that against the episode since it never fully comes at the cost of their characterization. Despite what I've been saying about characters' unremarkable personalities serving as a detriment to the episodes on this list, that doesn't undermine this episode. It has a very simple plot that deliberately has very little room for ambiguity, nor does it want the events of the episode to have much of an effect beyond how we view Kevin. As for what does get in the way of it earning a higher placement. The episode has a questionable revelation in regards to Max's connection to Kevin's family. Something that raises questions about the original show that the episode never answers, and when it comes to how it affects Kevin's story moving forward. Let's just go to the top 3. Each of these episodes could be interchangeable in their placement. What separates them namely comes down to a person's individual preference.
Now I've got a message for the boss. They're done.
This takes what I said about conflict in Generator Rex and plays into that concept fully. Going so far to have even the overtly untrustworthy crime boss have a point when it comes to who's right and wrong in this dilemma. The episode coming to the conclusion that what matters most is giving people the chance to prove they can be better than who they were, or who people think they are. We also get to see how the existence of Evos affects different parts of the world, and get more insight into Rex's past and what that could mean for the life he has now. You know the song and dance at this point. I chose not to actually cover this because it doesn't quite reach the heights of the episode I did cover in my series, and it's only 3 because I find that most of the new characters aren't that interesting when it comes to their personality.
This is what I'm seeing in my head. As stupid as it looks, it's like someone or something is sending me instructions to build some big device.
In terms of importance, the episode nearly surpasses the Lancaster debut. It also manages to keep the audience guessing since it not only plays directly into the continuity of what was revealed a season ago, but also it takes advantage of the implicit continuity since at this point Rex has interacted with 2 people from his past that have helped him and helped him, so both he and the audience have just as many reasons to trust the new character as we do to doubt them. The trifecta is met fully thanks to the plot heavily involving the premise for the entire series, nearly every character we met in the pilot, and even manages to resolve the inciting incident by going through the motions of this month's designated literary formula. Its placement solely comes down to one other episode managing to outclass it in everything it does. Before we get to that, time for honorable mentions. The backups back up if you will. Their lack of inclusion comes from these episodes not really heavily focusing on the new character introduced, or being so heavily tied into a specific season-long arc that it feels disingenuous to judge it by its
Enough, okay? Quit with the rambling mad scientist act and give me some answers!
Forgive me.
Rex, this is what they wanted. To turn us against each other.
Yeah? And look how easy it was. We thought we were a team, but we're not. We're vulnerable.
This episode manages to tap into the core insecurities of the main cast by using past relationships we know, having it done by a character from Rex's past, and in a way utilizes key components of this world and furthers the ongoing plot of the season. All while working perfectly as a standalone so long as the viewer has the basic idea of the show. With this much praise it sounds like I should have covered this episode in my series, and I would have if not for 2 key reasons. First, I just honestly forgot about it. Once I remembered it, I realized it worked better for future month of action with a different formula. Okay, now that I've fully made up for my faux pas, tell me what man of action series you would like me to cover in the future. You can tell me the writing you'd like to see broken down in next year's month of action, or just a series you would like me to discuss in general. Until then, always remember this when watching my videos.
You guys really are that good. I always thought it was just me, making you look good.